Hi everyone, this is Renata. The title of this video is Can Gang Stalking Be Ignored? But before I begin this video, I want to take time to thank everyone who has sent me very warm comments. People have put very kind comments in the comment section on different videos. People have emailed me very nice comments, and I want to take the time to really sincerely from the bottom of my heart thank you for that. That means the world to me. As you all know, sometimes it gets rough trying to do what we know we're called to do, but also have to go through dealing with the daily persecution that we have to deal with through this program. So I just want to really thank you and let you know that you have really encouraged me with your comments. And I'm very grateful. Okay, so back to the video. Again, I'm titling this, Can Gang Stalking Be Ignored? Okay, so when I mention gang stalking, I'm talking about organized stalking, group stalking, whatever you want to call it. It goes by different names, just depending on who you talk to. And the reason why I decided to do a video like this is because there are many people, even in the targeted individual community, that seems to have the attitude with some people who get stalked. Just get over it. Ignore it. It's easy to ignore people following you. They're not harming you, they're just following you. Get over it. That's nothing. And they seem to feel that the people who get the electronic harassment, which I personally believe that all TIs do, but is more prominent in some people's targeting than it is in others. I think that some people who get more of the electronic harassment, they feel that it is nothing. Just to be followed around, it is nothing. And so they minimize it, in my opinion. I know several people who minimize it, and they're probably not being mean, but in their mind, they're just thinking that it's just people following you, and you can learn to live with that. So, again, the question is, can it be ignored? Can this organized stalking, gang stalking, whatever you want to call it, can it be ignored? The short answer is, in some cases, yes. It can absolutely be ignored. Some of the things that they do, it can be ignored. Some of the things that happened to me in the beginning was extremely devastating. Just to know that all of these total strangers who should know nothing about me, just to wrap my mind around the fact that these people know where I live, know where I work, have pictures of me, that was really very difficult to work my mind, to wrap my mind around. But I learned to do it. In most cases, it got much easier. However, it is not something that can be ignored in all situations. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to break this down a little bit. So first, let me give a short definition of organized stalking. And this is just a short definition. It can be defined in many ways. But in a nutshell, the target is being followed around by a group of people, mostly people that the target does not know. In some cases, it may be neighbors, may even be people who you once considered friends or family members or whoever. But you're being followed around by groups of people. and is very well organized. That's why I personally prefer the name organized stalking to gang stalking, because it is very, very, very well organized, especially with technology. Now that they can communicate via text messages and things, it's even more organized than it once was. So this is, again, as I said, just very, very devastating at first. But with practice, most TIs learn to adjust to the situation, and most TIs do learn to ignore the stalking. Okay? But what has to be considered here for those who say just get over it, just ignore. And by the way, I've gotten pretty good at ignoring. But what has to be considered is that on top of the stalking, there's also harassment. And harassment, according to dictionary.com, is defined as the act or an instance of harassing or disturbing, pestering or troubling repeatedly, and persecution. Persecution, that's a loaded word right there, because a whole lot goes with persecuting a person. Okay? So you're not only being followed by groups of people, but you're also being harassed. Your peace is being disturbed. Your space is being invaded. You're being pestered. You're being persecuted. And then, on top of that, so now we have the stalking by groups of people. We have the harassment by groups of people. And then you have the tactics that these people actually carry out on an innocent person. And the tactics, according to dictionary.com, is defined as a plan, a procedure, or expedient for promoting a desired end or result. So in this case, the tactics are mind control tactics, which again is another loaded thing in itself. And as we know, that is designed to destroy a person. So I don't know any targeted individuals who only get the stalking, who only get people following them. Everyone I know gets the stalking, the harassment, and the tactics. Now, any of these three things standing alone is enough to break a person down. But when you bring them all together on one innocent person, and it's relentless, and it's all day long, never giving that person a mental break from any of these tactics, this harassment and this stalking, it's enough to bring a person all the way down, which is their goal, as we know. So some of the tactics, I was trying to think of some of the tactics that I myself have gone through and other people that I know, so I'll just mention a few of them. It's isolation, defamation of your character, being ostracized, assaults, vandalism, home break-ins, constant monitoring and surveillance. People have been kidnapped and put into mental institutions. Homelessness because of this program. Never being able to find a stable place to live. I know plenty of targets that have gone through that. They may not sleep on the streets. I do know people who have slept on the streets. But some people are just constantly made to move around. They can never find a stable place to stay. People are followed on the road, whether they're in a car or walking, slandered, sabotage, mail is tampered with. I myself went through that a lot in the beginning. Harassing phone calls, I went through that a lot in the beginning. Followed by government vehicles and as well as other vehicles. It could be buses, it could be taxi cabs, it could be UPS, FedEx, the mail truck, you name it. There's a lot of different vehicles, and of course you guys know, the colors and all of that, all these head games they play, and this is all day long. And then most people get the full package, which is the directed energy on top of all of this. And that has a lot that goes with that. So maybe if a person is a seasoned TI and they've been going through this for a while, they may be able to deal with this. And maybe they can ignore most of it, most of the things that I mentioned. But what if you're a brand new TI, which all of us were at one point, and you have no idea what the heck any of this is? This could easily take you over the edge and make you suicidal. Or for some people, they are being programmed to be a Manchurian candidate, so it can make them homicidal as well as suicidal. Some do both. So no, this, some of these things cannot be easily ignored. So I totally disagree with the people who have that theory. What if it's a child, a small child? I did a video on children targets. They definitely don't deserve to go through any of this, any of the stalking, but they do. Any of the harassment, but they do. How can a child whose brain isn't even developed, they haven't even experienced life, they don't even know how to counter any of this stuff, they don't understand any of it, this can definitely break them. And it has. What about senior citizens? What about mentally disabled people? They get this too. Some people die not even knowing what any of this was. They can't understand why everyone treated them so bad and everyone acted like they didn't like them, and all of these things were happening. They didn't know. Can you imagine how many people are in mental facilities that are really targeted individuals, but they believe that they are mentally ill? Other people believe that they are mentally ill, but that's not what's going on at all. They're not schizophrenic. They're being targeted. A lot of people. Imagine how many people are in jail because they've been set up. Tactics. These are some of the tactics that they use on people. So for the people who say just ignore it, what if the tactics are so blatant that you can't ignore them? I've had so many things, and like I said at the beginning of this video, I have gotten good at ignoring. I ignore as much as I possibly can, but there are things that happen that you cannot ignore. Yesterday, a bus purposely backed up and acted as if he was going to hit me. Now, he probably wasn't. I'm sure it was a scare tactic. But that's not the first time that has happened. I've had that happen with police. Police have acted like they were going to run me over with random cars. Dead cat placed in front of my house, directly in front of my house. Black cat. Dead. How can you ignore stuff like that? My house windows were egged by stalkers. How can you ignore stuff like that? You can't. So yeah, If someone's just following, I've gotten pretty good with the foot stalkers. I can ignore that. But some of these things these people do, what about the people who come home to discover that the stalkers have been in their homes and have moved things around? What about that? How can you just ignore that? So it's one of those things that is easier said than done. It really is. But I did come up with some things. I mean, if you can ignore, that is the best thing that you can do, is try to ignore as much as you possibly can. As much as you possibly can. But I do want to share a few things that I hope can help, can assist people in trying to deal with some of this. One of the things is, of course, I'm always going to say that we need God, because we do. I know we do. And no other way I could make it through without my faith in God. Our faith takes us a long way, believe me. Believe me, faith is why I'm still here. So we definitely need God. We need that spiritual connection. Also, we need to pick our battles, because so many things happen in a target's life on a daily basis. We can't fight every little war. We can't do it. It's one person against, just depends on how hard you're targeted. I can't even think of a number, because it doesn't even sound rational if I were to say how many people harass me in a day. It's a lot. It's a lot. So I don't know about everybody's individual situation. I don't know how much people get out and about, because if you get out, I would imagine you're going to get harassed more. And I go out a lot because I refuse to just be a prisoner in my own home. So I go out, and so I really get harassed a lot, and I get the police and all of that. Everybody knows that about me. But I do get the police harassment really heavy, and security guards and employees at stores, and it goes on and on. So I get quite a few people harassing me all day. And mine is not just stalking. It's a lot of harassment. So you really have to pick your battles, because these people come looking for confrontations and things. You can't give it to them. You have to learn to take the high road. This is what I'm learning. Okay. Also, I would say document your experiences, and I do plan to do a video on evidence gathering one day. However, for now, I'll say document some of the things that happen to you, if it's noteworthy for you. You may not want to document every little thing, but anything that you feel is noteworthy, you should document it. And there's more than one reason for that, in my opinion. Also, I want to say about documenting, it helps you to feel empowered, believe it or not. It helps me to feel like I'm doing something on my own behalf to help me through some of this. So I would suggest, documenting your experience, and also your experiences. Also, a journal. If you're a person that likes to write, you like to process, you like to get it off your mind, journaling will really help you as well. Challenge yourself. I just mentioned how I go out. There was a time where I was afraid to go out. Very afraid. Because I didn't understand any of this. Did not understand why I was being followed by police every time I went out the door. Why I was being followed by total strangers. It was extremely difficult. And it was a very high anxiety time for me. But I began to challenge myself. And I don't know which areas you need to challenge yourself, but I will just say it like that. Challenge yourself. Challenge yourself to move forward with this. You can't stay in the same place with this. You're going to have to grow through it. Okay? You have to learn to adjust to things that happen in life, because life is forever changing, and we're living in a time period where things are changing at a very rapid rate. Every day there's something going on, and things are changing. We have the highest surveillance society that I can remember in my lifetime. So we have to be able to adjust to this stuff. We have to be resilient. We have to bounce back. When we get knocked down, we have to get back up. If you need to rest, rest. If that means staying in the house a couple days, not dealing with certain things, then don't. But find your strength and get back up. And continue to challenge yourself. Most of all, continue to live your life. Just continue. Put your life in God's hands and continue to live your life. You deserve to live your life. Don't worry about what the naysayers are saying. Don't worry about the stalkers. Give it to God. Leave it with Him. And continue. Continue your life. Set goals for yourself. And set out to accomplish those goals. Even if you feel that your goals are far-fetched, try to accomplish them anyway. Nothing beats a failure but a try. So that is really all I wanted to say on this video. I really just wanted to address the people that have that attitude of just get over it. Just ignore them. It's so easy to ignore stalkers. We who actually get the stalking and the harassment and all the tactics, we're working on it. But it's one of those things, it's much easier said than done. This is a crime. This is a crime that leaves us who are going through this confused and feeling unsafe and unprotected by law enforcement who's supposed to be helping us, but in many cases are involved, and not in all. In many cases, in my case, it leaves so many targeted individuals suicidal and traumatized and devastated. But I do believe that with the help of God, we can turn these traumas into triumph, and we will survive it. This too shall pass. So stay strong, TIs.